Okay, so logging in as a teacher, I've changed to the teacher portal, and I'm going to type in my username and type in my password. So this is where teachers are going to mark their attendance on a period by period basis or on a daily basis, depending on how your building attendance is set up. We have a rotating A-B day, which is why some of my chairs are grayed out. These are classes that do not meet today. My only class that meets today is my U.S. History Period 4 on the A day. So this keeps teachers from making those mistakes of marking attendance when they shouldn't. That's all part of just the way PowerSchool works. A lot of the things that just simply make sense do make sense. So in this case, we're only allowed to mark attendance during our fourth period. So I'm going to click on the chair, and I'm going to go ahead and mark attendance as a teacher who knows the attendance codes. I'm going to use my keys on my keyboard to mark some students absent and tardy. So I've typed A and T, and I'm going to go ahead and hit submit. So my attendance is taken. I've received that visual cue with that green dot letting me know that I've taken my attendance, so that if I can't remember, did I mark attendance, all I have to do is take a glance, and yes, my attendance was taken today during that period. However, let me go back into that chair. There's a lot more information for teachers on this screen than just simply attendance. So for example, I can see that the office has already marked a couple of students with attendance codes. We have an out-of-school suspension and a parent excused. Once somebody in the office marks the attendance for a student, I see that as a teacher, but I can't modify it. Also, the office has also added a note or a comment for one student who's out of school suspension and letting me know that Riley will be back in class on Friday. Also, since I have marked some of my students with absences, I can say that maybe this student is 10 minutes late again. And I just want to make sure that the office is completely aware of that. So I can go ahead and submit and update that attendance as well. So if I've marked a student absent who then comes in 5 minutes later, I can go back into that chair and make that modification for that student and change them to either late or tardy. Now the attendance codes that teachers can mark are configured again at the building level, but typically there'll be a much shorter list than the office has available to them. So at the office they can mark things like out of school suspension, parent, excused, field trip, illness, but the teachers are limited in what they can mark as far as attendance. So I'm going to update that attendance to have the student be late instead of absent. But also under that same screen we have a number of alerts. So in this case we have a medical alert. Ashley has a severe medical condition. If I click on that as a teacher, I can see that Ashley is allergic to peanuts. You can even embed a YouTube video into this alert so that a teacher can understand what they may need to do to help Ashley if she does have a severe allergic reaction in class. We also have a parental alert so that I can see what parent I should not be releasing Ashley to at the school. And then we have other alerts as well. We can see that Amanda has a discipline alert, a fee balance alert, she has an upcoming birthday, there's a general alert, and then some special education alerts as well. Now this is one way that teachers can mark attendance. We also have the multi-day attendance screen, which allows teachers to mark attendance on the day the class is in session. You can also configure this to allow teachers to mark either a certain number of days or before or after the class is in session to meet your building attendance policy needs. But if I'm looking for patterns of attendance, then I can also use this screen to maybe see the entire marking period of quarter 4, and I can look at a large grid and see those patterns of attendance for all of my students on a single screen. And I can move to the side and look out into the past or the future. And this typically in most systems is something that I would have to go to the office as a teacher to be able to find out either future or past attendance for the students. And then our seating chart designer is the third way that teachers can mark attendance. And with our seating chart designer, we don't lock you into the grid. We allow you to create and design the classroom layout exactly the way your classroom is designed. And I can use that to mark attendance just like I can the other two screens as well. And if there's comments, I can hover over and see those comments. If I want to change that seating chart, I notice I have a new student here, so I can go ahead and drag them out and place them into an open seat. I can move these chairs around a little bit and adjust them accordingly. But it's a very, very functional seating chart, even considering things where these two students are talking a little bit too much. So if I want to select two of my students, I receive this swap button, which allows me to change and adjust that seating chart very easily. And I'm going to go ahead and save those changes. So again, I go back to my seating chart, and all of the changes that I've made have been reflected there. So that's marking attendance with the single day, again, very quick and easy, but it also gives me options as to different ways to either look at my classes or to mark attendance within my classes. So if I move back, and just like in the administrative portal, if I click the PowerSchool icon in the upper right hand corner, I can also get to the multi-day attendance from the landing page or the seating chart attendance. We also do the lunch count. So if you at the building, at the different classes at first hour, have your teachers record the number of students who are going to be eating hot lunch, then the lunch staff can prepare those meals appropriately at the building. That's a part of PowerSchool as well. The backpack is where you can go into as a teacher to start to see more information about your students. So if I head down to Ashley, which we've seen from the administrative side, here's that quick lookup screen, which we saw as an administrator. The teachers have access to that same screen, and I can move from one student to the other, and this screen will update. So I can see how my students are doing, not just in my class. I teach the U.S. History class, but also how they're doing in their other classes as well. And it really helps me as a teacher be a part of that collaborative learning environment with the students. But the pull-down menu in this upper right-hand corner allows me to change to different functional areas. So the net access summary, for example. I want to see how often the parents are logging in and checking on Ashley's information. And since parents, mother and father or guardian, each create their own account, that allows you to be able to see which of the parents or guardians are logging in. So I can see that Sam is logging in quite frequently to take a look at Ashley, and also Brad Kirst is logging in regularly to see how Ashley is doing in respect to grades and attendance. Now at the very bottom of this screen, we will see how often Ashley herself, as the student, is logging in to see and check on her class and course information. And typically the student will log in far more than the parent and guardian, but in some cases that is not the case. But that's on that single screen, and I can move from one student to another again and see this net access summary as well. We also have other areas, maybe taking a look at the historical grades information on Ashley. So these are all of the grades that have been stored while she's been at the high school so far. She is currently a 10th grader, so these are all of her 9th and some of her 10th grade classes. So that screens area under the teacher portal gives me access to a lot more information on the students as I'm starting to prepare for the upcoming school year or just looking for information during the course of the year. Demographics, maybe I need to make that phone call home or send an email to a parent or guardian, and I can do that right from the demographics page. So I'm going to head back to the start screen, and we're going to open up the gradebook, and we're going to do just a couple of things within the gradebook. So I'm going to open up PowerTeacher Pro, and I see my courses. Again, just like in the administrative side, it's related to my context. So my current context is the U.S. History Period 3. If I want to switch to Period 4, which is where Ashley is, I can switch to Period 4. But also under my context, I can work with my classes as groups. So I'm teaching 4 U.S. history classes, and in many cases I'm going to be creating a single assignment for all of those classes at the same time. So we naturally group those together, and if I select my 3 classes, I can now, my context changes to where I have all 3 classes at once. And if I use the Create button to create a new assignment, then I can do just that for all 3 of my classes. and we're going to call this assignment number 9. I'm going to select a category so the teacher can create these categories, or they can be created at the building or district level. And let's say that this is a test, and we're going to score it based upon points, percentage, letter grade. And I'm going to just go ahead and do it by letter grade and say that this test is worth 40 points. I can also turn on the weighting and adjust the weighting if I need to. Is it going to count toward the final grade? Do I want to set the different due date? By default it will be today, but let's say that this is due on Friday. That's when the test will be. But however, since I'm doing this for 3 classes, maybe my 4th period on the B day, they're actually going to take that on Thursday. So it allows me to not only create assignments at one time for multiple classes, but I can also adjust the due dates. I can add a description, which will be available for parents and students and other stakeholders throughout the system to be able to see and understand what this assignment really entails. If I wanted to add just a few or a handful of students to this assignment, I can create this assignment just for 3 or 4 students within my class. And then also, when do I want this assignment published? So I have options there as well. Perhaps I want to publish this. I don't want my parents and students to know that this test is happening on the 19th until Monday the 22nd. So it gives me control over when these assignments will be published out for parents and students. So I'm going to go ahead and save this assignment, and I'm going to switch to quarter 4, which is the current quarter that we're in. And I can see that assignment 9. I can see clearly that it's in all 3 of my classes. And I'm going to go ahead and start scoring this assignment. Now, the gradebook that we have, PowerTeacher Pro, works the same on a computer as it does on a Chromebook, on an iPad, on an Android device, even on my smartphone. So it's completely HTML5, which means it'll run on any device that I'm using or might have in my hands at the time. So I'm going to click in the box, and the drawer will open up on the right. Now the scores, because I selected an alpha score, ours is strictly A through F with no plus or minus, and I can use those and my mouse, or if I'm on a touch screen, use my finger to move from one student to the next and enter those scores. Now I'm on a computer, so I have arrow keys, which I'm using right now to move up and down, and I can also just simply type a C, a D, an F, an A, and I can just go right down that line and enter my scores very quickly. Now we do also have the flag saying that this assignment is missing, and I want to move down and say that this one is incomplete, and we also have a student that is exempt from this test. So I can use these flags to be able to say and let parents know what's going on with these assignments. So this one was handed in late and it is a C. I can even add in a comment saying the grade was reduced, so that parents understand that comment flag will appear for parents as well, so they can see that anecdotal comment that I'm typing in. If I want to revert to the comment bank, I can click on the navigation on the left-hand side of my drawer, and I can open up the comment bank and search for missing or incomplete assignments, and let's go ahead and use the missing. Insert, and close that out. So I can add additional comments as well that way. Now if I wanted to use the fill, so let's go ahead down another row and say that the rest of the students received an A. So I'm going to turn that off and say that there's an A here, and I'm going to fill the rest of my students. 62 scores are updated, and now the rest of the scores are populated with an A. So that's creating an assignment and grading that assignment using my keys on my keyboard. If I'm on a tablet, I can use the drawer on the right-hand side. If I want to see how my students are progressing, I can go to my progress and take a look at the traditional assignments. Oh, and I did forget to save the changes that I've made. So it is reminding me what I like to change or discard. And I'm going to go ahead and save those changes because I don't want to lose the grades that I just entered. And then it'll take me to the screen that I navigated to, which is the traditional grades. I can see that most of my students are doing very well. If I click on that box, it's going to show me marking period by marking period any students who might be struggling. I had a lot of struggling students during quarter one, quarter two. There are not as many struggling. So it provides information for me as a teacher to help me find those students that I really need to focus on. And I can see trends. So I can see that Crystal here, from quarter one to quarter two, her grade is trending down, and Ben here from quarter one to quarter two, his grade is trending up. So very visual, allows me to see what's going on the same screen. I can see any students that might be missing, late, or incomplete. If I click on one of those, it's going to take me to that screen that allows me to see how my students are doing and which students I need to focus on. Anytime in my gradebook I see a student, I can click on their name, and now I'm focused just on that student. I see Ashley. We're looking at quarter four grades, and I can see the assignments that she has in quarter four. If I switch to the year long, then I can see that she's still receiving that F and all of the assignments that make up that grade. So that's a very quick look at the gradebook, PowerTeacher Pro. If I click on the PowerSchool icon in the upper left-hand corner, it takes me back to my portal where I can mark attendance and check other information on students. So I'm going to sign out as a teacher, and the last portal I'm going to jump into is the parent and student portal. So I'm going to log in as a parent. Now parents do create their own account, and they securely associate students to their account with an access ID and access password that you at the Archdiocese will provide them. So those are the keys to the kingdom. Without that information, they cannot access students' grades and attendance within PowerSchool. So there is a lot of security around it, but it gives the parents the convenience of being able to create a username and password that they themselves can easily remember. Now it is a single sign-on, so I have 5 students linked to my parent portal. If I move to, let's say, Samuel, then the screen will update to show me Samuel's information. Let me move back to Ashley. Remember that quick lookup screen on the administrative and teacher portal? This is exactly that same screen, works the same way as it does for parents. I see that Ashley is receiving an F in U.S. history. When I click on that letter grade, it'll drill down and show me everything that's going on that student. Just by the teacher using their gradebook, it's all automatically published out to me. Now I can also create a course syllabus, embedding YouTube videos, links to any kind of outside resource that you might have or use within the Archdiocese. But at the bottom is where I'm seeing the individual scores that make up that overall grade. And if there are any comments, I can go ahead and view those comments. Right here I can see great work, Ashley has turned in her assignment late. Maybe doesn't make as much sense, but it does allow teachers to enter those comments and parents can view those comments. All right. So other things that parents can see, maybe there's a fee balance that is available. I can see the lunch status and the lunch balances, and then at the bottom any additional fees that are associated with Ashley within PowerSchool. Course fees, athletic fees, school fees, and I can see those very clearly. You can also have parents provide them the ability to pay those fees online with some of our independent software vendor partners. We can also do an online registration, so if it's registration time, the parents, by using the parent portal, can click the link on the bottom left-hand corner and it will take them out and prepare them to do that re-registration that they have at the beginning of the year. So I can pick up where I left off and I can move back to my emergency contact information and I can make those modifications. Now this is just an example of a registration form. It would really be tailored to meet specifically the Archdiocese of Philadelphia's requirements. So this is just simply an example. The idea is to take all of those paper forms that you have today and have them be presented to parents online. In this case, we're having an existing parent re-register an existing student or update their information. In many cases, in this case, we can see that the parent already has a contact. We're not allowing them to modify it, so there's a lot of logic that can be built into those forms. But these forms would look specifically to what meeting your needs at the Archdiocese of Philadelphia. So the last thing that I'm going to cover from the parent's perspective is also the mobile apps. So PowerSchool provides a mobile application for parents and students when it comes to accessing information. So I'm displaying my smartphone right now, and if the application is available on iOS and Android devices, they are identical. And if you notice, I'm going to touch the icon in the upper left-hand corner, and it's going to open my parent app. Now I have access to multiple students, so I'm going to swipe, and I'm going to move from one student to the next. And the screen that we're seeing is that very same quick lookup screen that we saw for my students before. And I can move it around with my thumb. If I want to see activities, I can click on the activities navigation on the bottom. I can see that this student is in chess club and is also playing basketball. Any attendance events, and I can scroll up to see the course of the attendance events throughout the year. If I click on more, this allows me to move into other areas. So maybe just the summaries. I'm going to open up summaries, and this gives me at a glance all of my students. I'm a parent and I have a lot of students tied to my single account. I can see their fee balances, their lunch balances, GPA, absence totals. If I go back to more, I can also take a look at the teachers for my student, which allows me to drill down and even email a teacher from my smartphone or whatever device I might be using at the time. So I can put in a subject, type in a quick message to the teacher, and that teacher will receive that email and they can start communicating with me as a parent. I'm going to delete that draft. But if I want to change the navigation on the left, maybe there are certain areas that I really want to see, the app is even customizable to allow me to do things like make adjustments by using my edit in the upper right hand corner, and perhaps the summaries is something that I really want to see more than the activities, so I can drag that down and I'm done. So now I have my dashboard, which is my grades and attendance screen, and I can move over to my summary, and that's right at my thumb tip very easily. So it allows me to be able to create the environment and the app the way that I want to be able to see the information in those areas that I need to see on a regular basis. So I hope this was helpful. I'm going to turn off my sharing right now. So I hope that this was helpful. I hope it helps you understand a little bit about how PowerSchool works. A couple of key things within PowerSchool is it's a single database. Everything is live in real time. So as a teacher creates an assignment or marks attendance, parents, administrators, everyone throughout the system has immediate access to that information. When a teacher is using the PowerTeacher Pro gradebook, they simply create the assignments and save them, and everything is available to all stakeholders. And that's very important, and it does make things easier with PowerSchool. I hope this was helpful, and I look forward to talking to everyone later on with the subsequent meetings that we have scheduled. All right, everyone have a great day now. Thank you. Bye-bye.